So let's see if I can actually do this with the controller. If entered crouch is not true, if entered crouch is not true, okay, so if we have entered crouch, then we'll do, so if we can play our animation, get the velocity, and if the velocity vector length is greater than 0, we're playing the wrong animation here. Well, this might have something to do with it right here. This is a set. What we want is a get on it. Alright, it's going to be finished entering crouch. So that's what I just got bugs, and that's why these things aren't working. Hello, Nils Noah. I'm working on blueprinting out crouching for my character at the moment. So let's see. Hit breakpoint, call function. Alright. So we have finished entering crouch is getting called. I was playing the wrong animation for his idle when he's crouched. So he's going to crouch, and then he's going to stay there. Alright, so let's see if the crawl works at all. It's real touchy at the moment. So that's the crawl. Yeah, real touchy. Yeah, I think that's what Adam was going for. Make Bitey do this real cool, smooth crouch sort of thing. Alright, so we have this crawl and we have crouched. We need, I wanted to immediately go into the crawling animation if you start moving. Alright, so it's basically if we can play our animation right here. Basically what I want to do is if we are crouching, and the velocity vector y is it's going to be if the x no if it's going to be if the y is greater than 0, you know, greater than something small. I don't know. You'd have to give all that, you know, the animation a opinions to Adam because my eyes are engineering eyes, which are not very special for art. I'd be like, it looks good enough. I don't know. Alright, so basically what I'm trying to say on this one is if we should skip the crouch entering stuff entirely. And I might want to put this at the beginning. Like basically if we are crouching, and this is greater than that, then I basically want to set entered crouch to true. And then I want to execute the rest of this logic. Something like that. No. Is Adam on? Nah, he's in the middle of the night right now. He was, I talked to him earlier. Working on more Bob's Burgers stuff. So he's like super busy. Alright, so if our y-axis is going to be... I mean, this is wrong. We don't actually want the velocity here. We want the raw magnitude of this thing. And it needs to be greater than this. Yeah, it needs to be like this. Yeah, this is what we need. Because we're on the ground, we need to do this properly. So it's going to be the same thing here. We should just call this get velocity magnitude instead of the other one. So let's see. What am I checking with that velocity magnitude? Basically, what I'm doing here is if we are currently crouching, so he's going into the crouch, if the velocity magnitude is greater than 0.1, then what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, we've already entered our crouch. So if you're moving and he goes into his crouch animation, he's just going to instantly start crawling. As opposed to like smoothly entering his crouch, he'll just start crawling. So kind of, skip the animation and just start moving. And if we haven't entered our crouch, then go ahead and try to crouch. And we are looping all those. So, what is a velocity magnitude? A velocity magnitude is the speed at which you are moving along the ground. So, if it's just a number. So if he's running, it's like 5,000 or something. and if he's walking, it's like 1,000. Yeah, the scalar of the velocity, which is the magnitude. I don't know if you have different terms for vector math stuff, but that is literally the definition of magnitude. Alright, so let's get it so that he will uncrouch. So on exit of this one, what we're going to do is so if on exit is called for the crouch state, what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can still crouch. So we can uncrouch, and what we're going to do is we're going to play the crouch animation in reverse. And I'm thinking about how to do this because the on exit will be called before the on enter of the next one. But if this exits, we could be going to any node. So what we want to do is if the next state is the idle state, the stationary state, I guess that's going to be our uncrouch. So we do have the next state right here, so we could say, like, if it's the bitey stationary state, we can call our can play anims. So if those are all true, then we should go ahead and play let's grab our animation. Great event name, event B? Where did I? Play reverse with duration and alright, so let's double check what the stationary state has got. So I think this guy on enter, he's gonna play this stuff. What is B? Oh, it's B underscore on exit in code. So it got shortened to, it got broken apart based on some rules. So it's B on exit. So it's really just on exit. And the B is just being a pain in the ass. I could probably fix that by declaring a name for the event specifically inside of C++ land. But it's this guy right here. So let me see if I can do that real quick. Alright, so I can go ahead and do that if I want. It'll change the display names for all those so it doesn't have a B dangling on the front. Why are you not just using blueprints? Because some things are a lot easier to do in C++. Or are flat out impossible just in Blueprint native land. I'm just, I've got it so we're doing our heavy lifting and stuff like that inside of C++, kind of all of our frameworks, and then for writing, you know, the actual scripting logic and everything, we're using blueprints for that. So that's the plan. But sexy lines? I don't know. Some of these lines are just ugly as all hell. And the other thing that sucks with blueprints, you lose, like, your version control history doesn't work. So, like, since it's a binary file, you can't see what it was last week. You could revert it to what it was last week and then kind of eyeball it, but you wouldn't be able to say, like, oh, literally this one line got changed or something. So there's a lot of reasons not to use blueprints, which are not just straightforward. So what I want to do here with this stationary state is when we enter this state, we want to detect the animation that's playing, and if the animation is playing is like, you know, the crouch animation, then we should let it finish, and then we'll play our breathing animation. Yeah, there's only 2 of us. So how should I do that? So we can simplify some of that a little bit. Well, if you've been paying attention to some of Adam's streams, maybe this test level he put together will answer that question for you. But basically, we've got this. This is just a test level that he put together. the idea is that we'll have those, those 3D, 2D backgrounds in there. The foreground is trash right here. He'll be filling that in. But we've got 3D objects that are along this track. Like here's a a boulder and all that. And then we've got stuff like mushrooms, etc. So we'll have these 3D objects that you can like jump on and interact with. But you'll be a 2D character. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit more information on what we're actually trying to accomplish at the moment. Alright, so it's going to be on animation end is going to play, and we're going to say, okay, we should play one of these two. I'm getting rid of some of the copy-pasted garbage because we don't need it anymore. Alright, so this thing is only going to start playing animations at a point here where we can. So what exactly are we looking for here? Am I good at math? Well, it depends on what kind of math. Programming math is pretty much just knowing what to hook up, and a lot of 2D stuff and vector math and crap like that, which I've been doing for a while, but it's still just a process. So I wouldn't say I'm super amazing at anything, but I'm good enough to go write my own math library stuff, which I then use, so I don't actually have to be good at math. I just have to be good at math when I wrote it the first time. I just build a whole bunch of stuff that I call later to make it simple. So like with, physics utils, you just make all your sweep spheres, sweep boxes, and overlap everything, so you don't have to worry about that crap anymore. You just build all that stuff and then you call it. So helper convenience functions for everything. It's not like I sit down and do a bunch of vector math every single time I'm doing something. I'm like, well, I want to know if this vector, if this angle is at... No, I just make a freaking function that's called get angle from vector, and I just call that crap. Alright, so how exactly should I basically want to do this, start playing anims, and I guess I could go ahead and bind on anim ended, and just bind that regardless of what's happening. So if we can play animations, then we will. basically, I think it's the idle animation stuff is going to trigger the next animation that it's going to be doing based on the end of the animation. When whatever animation gets finished, it'll do stuff. So if it'll continue playing the first animation that comes in, so we can get that. Oh yeah, overlap stuff is already in the game, but then you have to make sure it actually works and does all that sort of stuff, and a lot of it just didn't. You have to learn how it all works, and it's never as simple as that. Like I was getting different results from if I called overlap versus if I call sweep, and all sorts of stuff like that. And you just have to go through and make it all consistent yourself. So what I think we need to do is can play animation, and we also need another thing of like wait for first animation end. And I guess we'll put it right here with our crouch. So if previous state is crouch, then we'll wait. All right. So if we're not waiting for the first animation to end, then we can go ahead and do this. Alright, so what we can do here is wait for first anim to end. We're going to set that to false. And just initially, and we're also going to have our started playing anims set to true if we get over here. Just like that. Harmony doesn't work anymore? Won't open? Yeah, that sounds like restart time. Okay, so if we are waiting for the first animation to end, we won't do anything. Crouch will wait for the first animation. Alright, so that should be fine. I would kind of like, instead of having some sort of flag that you can set, because I don't really like the bitey crouch state saying, oh, well, you know, just wait for an animation to finish playing. It should be somewhat based on maybe not the state, but if it actually played the animation for uncrouching. So maybe I should actually get the current state, the current animation, inside of the stationary state. I guess we could set it on the parent, like the bitey movement controller could have some sort of thing on it. So like a variable on the movement controller saying like has stationary transition. So the crouch state would call like parent set has stationary transition to true. And the stationary transition state, you can just do that here. And on the end of the animation here, we're also going to, I mean, it's basically this wait for first anim to end is what we're setting. It's like parent get has stationary transition. Well, let's see. On exit called for crouch state. So let's so bitey stationary state for next state. Next state is Dashkin movement state, bitey stationary state. Oh, interesting. This object comparison is wrong because it's comparing it to the base type as opposed to that. I'd have to like get class, and then I'd have to do it like this, I think. So let's see, the class is blueprint generated class. Condition is true. So supposedly it played crouch, but it played it with a duration of 0. So let's do a duration of 1. Alright, so if we go to the bitey stationary state, I am going to need this to be over here. So if we can play our animations, and we want this like not here, like so. So let's see if this does what we'd like. Alright, so has stationary transition, condition is false. Alright, so it looks like my playing in reverse stuff is probably messed up. Alright, so that'll fix one of those issues. Now the other one is that we're having trouble with our animation. So I think it has to do with this interrupt for the crouch. Well, it shouldn't interrupt. It should play it. Alright, so the question is it actually finishing? Let's add a little bit of debugging here. So it's not playing the finish animation, it's probably calling on animation start. So it's going to be the animation events are messed up. Some fine Californian wine. Alright, very good. So let's see, the animation events aren't firing properly for these things. I would expect the end to be called the start. And other than that, it's not being set properly. So what we need to do for this is figure out what's going on with the play reverse function. So that is going to be the crouch state, play reverse with duration and lookup. Alright, so play in reverse. So reverse is true. Start is at negative 1.0? Shouldn't it be just starting at 0? I mean, starting at 1? Yeah, that's probably that's what's going on. Well, I guess start being negative 1 means nothing. Interrupt is false. New animation is false? So let's see, what exactly is going on here? The old loop number is being preserved. It should be a new animation. Like, we're supposed to play crouch. So let me see if Bitey actually has that crouch on him. Like, we have crouched, it's right there. And it's different than crouch. So let's see which one it's hitting. This is just reverse. This should be reverse from N. So it must be that it's immediately finishing and getting that. It must actually be playing the thing in reverse, but the difference is that inside of the movement states for station